I rise tonight to speak on the emerging cannabis industry and US politics. I realise that there's some in this chamber who view cannabis legalisation as a minor issue, a fringe issue, a distraction from the heavy-hitting policy levers of health, education, transport and the broader economy. I also realise that there are some who may be entertained or horrified by US and international politics, but who fail to draw a direct connection by what is happening in Milwaukee or Nevada to what is happening in Newcastle or Wagga. Sometimes it takes an outsider, an MP from a minor party from the crossbench, to sound the alarm that we need to wake up to an economic opportunity before it is too late. We need to join the dots here. When Vice President Kamala Harris named Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her Democratic running mate, they became the first major US party ticket to support federal legalisation of cannabis, a historic change in US drug policy. Walz completes the pro-cannabis ticket with a strong history of supporting cannabis reform, including signing the bill to make adult-use cannabis legal in Minnesota, where he was governor. Harris has recently talked about the racial disparity of cannabis prohibition and has indicated her support for full cannabis legalisation. In March, she said, and I quote, "Nobody should go to jail for smoking weed." In 2023, Walz signed a bill into law that created a legal cannabis market in Minnesota, made cannabis use for adults legal and expunged low-level cannabis convictions. This comes after President Biden initiated a review earlier this year to reschedule cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act. This would be the most significant shift in cannabis legalisation in 50 years and would pave the way for full legalisation and the ability to produce cannabis for export. Crucially, it would be a challenge to the single convention on narcotic drugs that has served as the governing document over drug policy internationally since 1961. When a jurisdiction as large and influential as the United States seeks to change the convention, then the rules change for everyone. Legalisation will become inevitable in Australia, and with it a collapse of barriers to trade. Should the Democrat ticket be successful in November, and this is looking increasingly likely, we will see a seismic shift in the United States cannabis industry, where 38 out of 50 states already have some form of legal cannabis. In the decade after Colorado and Washington legalised recreational cannabis use for adults, we are already seeing legalised cannabis sales outstripping chocolate and craft beer combined. Americans are already spending an eye-watering $33 billion a year on legal cannabis, and that is estimated to be just 30% of the market. By the end of this decade, cannabis sales are expected to outstrip or rival alcohol sales. We are living through an economic revolution that New South Wales ignores at its peril, and the depressing news is that we are already travelling in the wrong direction. Data released this month by the Office of Drug Control shows that the volume of imported medicinal cannabis climbed almost 70% in the calendar year of 2023 to 42,000 kilograms. This outstrips the amount grown locally by 60%. Compare that to just 3 years ago when only 7,000 kilograms was imported and almost 17,000 kilograms was grown by producers in Australia. What we are seeing is a domestic cannabis industry that is close to stagnant in a rapidly expanding market where imports are flooding in from Canada, South Africa, Denmark and Portugal. And I note, Madam Deputy Chair, that even Muslim nations like Pakistan and just last month, Morocco have moved to legalise cannabis and moved to exporting into the flourishing European market. Even imports from economic minor North Macedonia climbed 3,000% into Australia in 2023. Everyone wants a larger slice of this lucrative and exploding market, it seems, except Australia. We need to start to work on this, and we need to start as soon as possible. This government has already shown commendable foresight by forming a hemp industry task force, which is currently collecting data and working with industry stakeholders. A first step in terms of seizing the opportunity of the global reformation in cannabis would be to form something similar for the cannabis industry, an expert advisory panel to inform governments of the opportunities in medicinal cannabis before mass imports from the United States mean that it is too late.